a quick run through rules and judging criteria. Then we shall have a brief introduction of our judges, the teams that will be debating. Then we shall kick into the debate session. Thereafter, we shall have some questions and answers from the judges, an interlude, and then remarks from the judges. And that will be the end of the second stage of our debate. So at this point in time, we are to have our opening remarks from our very own Africa Regional Director, Dr. Riverson Opong, and Engineer Amina Dan Madam, the SPE Nigeria Council Chairperson. So Dr. Riverson and Engineer Amina, if you're on the call, it's time to have the opening remarks. Ola, kindly help me confirm if we have Dr. Riverson or Engineer Amina on the call yet.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. They are not on the call yet, so we can proceed and we can take the remarks later.
Okay. So once again, my name is Andrew Kirunda, and I'll be your moderator for today's program. I come from Uganda, very passionate about SPE and in particular the Africa Young Professionals Initiatives. So I'm very happy to be here with you all today, and I'll be doing the moderation of the debate. So once again, we shall have a quick reminder of the rules. I believe these were shared with us already, but we can go through them once again. So for the time allocations, we shall be having the lead debaters, that is the first speaker from each team, allocated 5 minutes. Then the supporting debater, the second debater, being allocated 3 minutes. And then the third debater or the third speaker, who will be the closing debater, being allocated 3 minutes. In between the transitions from one speaker to another speaker, we shall have a 45 seconds cross-examination. And please, let's be very mindful of the time. For the questions and answers, these will be limited to the judges only. Then we shall also have some questions from our judges. These will be 3 questions, one from each judge, because we shall be having 3 judges with us today. And the responses should be limited to 45 seconds again. What will be the judging criteria? Number 1, clarity of the case that is being debated upon, the presentation skills, the persuasiveness, analysis, and the evidence that is being tabled in the discussions, together with the relevance to the topic or to the case, are very fundamental as we articulate our points during the debate. So you take note of that. Moving on, we shall now have an introduction of our judges. Our very first judge is none other than Mr. Gabriel Dubak, who is a senior completions and stimulations engineer with global expertise in geothermal energy and conventional reservoirs for enhanced geothermal systems. He is currently advancing in deep geothermal and super hot rock applications, designing and executing stimulation treatments, leading innovativeness in various energy projects. He is a member of SPE International Young Member Committee and the 2023 SPE International Giovanna Paccoloni Young Professional Award recipient. And he is also very passionate about making energy affordable and accessible worldwide. You're most welcome, Judge Gabriel Drubak. We're happy to have you in our debate today. Our next judge will be Miss Maisa Soye. She holds a Master's of Science and a PhD degree in Petroleum Engineering from Sultan Qaboos University. And she's currently working as a postdoctoral researcher, an active member of SPE, and also an award-winning, and also a winner for the 2022 and 2023 Outstanding Technical Review Awards. And she's also currently serving as the chair for the SPE Student Development Committee. You are most welcome, Judge Maisa. We are happy to have you on our debate today. Our third debate will be Engineer James Aloti Okay. Engineer James works in the completions teams of Halliburton in Qatar. And he has an academic background from Harold Watt University and Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He's a field engineer, specifically doing completions engineering. And he is currently working with a lot of teams in the Persian Gulf, completing new wells and workover wells with modern techniques and technologies being implemented over there. He is a recipient of the SPE Africa Regional Young Professional Member Outstanding Service Award of 2022. And he is an active member of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. Judge James Aloti Okay, you are most welcome to our debate, and we are happy to have you. So having looked at our judges, let's now move to the teams which will be participating in our debate today. So in our debate today, we shall be having Benin-City. Benin-City is known to be the capital of historic Benin Kingdom and one of the most sophisticated pre-colonial African empires. So allow me invite the team members from Benin-City to introduce themselves very briefly. You can just mention your name, what you do or your profession, in addition to what your role is going to be on your team during this debate. So Benin team, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Obode. I'm the lead debater for the SP Benin section. So I'm a strategy consultant for energy, industry, and minerals, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. The second speaker from Benin. Next speaker from Benin.
Okay, before the next speaker, second speaker takes the mic. My name is S.M. Madabuchi, so I'll be the third speaker. I'm from a Benin SP session, and I'm a petroleum economist with NMPC. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next speaker from Benin.
Good day, everyone. My name is Cheru Pedri. I'm going to be the second speaker on this debate, and I'm also with NNPC as the facility engineer. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker from Benin.
Oh, okay, I'm the third speaker. I already introduced myself when the second speaker's mic wasn't coming on.
Okay, so we only have 3 members from Benin. Okay, wonderful. So let's now move on to the next team, and that is the Nairobi team. Nairobi is known to be a dynamic city, blending modern skyscrapers with colonial-era architecture and African tradition. And it's the only city in the world where you can see wild animals with a skyline backdrop. So, Nairobi team, you're most welcome to our second stage and to our second knockout debate session. So let me have the team members from Nairobi to briefly introduce themselves, your name, your profession, and also perhaps what will be your role during today's debate. Nairobi team, the floor is all yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Arthur Kisaka. I'm a petroleum engineer, currently working as an innovations and project associate at a beverage manufacturing company in Nairobi. I will be the lead debater for SPE Nairobi section. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Next speaker from Nairobi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chantal Omondi. I'm actually the SPE student chapter liaison for SPE Nairobi section. And for work, I'm a program assistant in climate policy advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chantal. Next speaker from Nairobi. You're speaking a little bit far away from your microphone. Please kindly move closer to your microphone. We cannot hear you quite well.
Well, I hope now I'm fully audible. My name is Steven Oweru. I'm from Nairobi. I'll be part of this debate contest.
Okay, you are most welcome, Stephen. Thanks for your introduction. Are we only having 3 members from Nairobi as well? Okay, take that as a yes. So let's now move into our debate. Once again, today's debate is going to be about the theme is fostering a culture of innovation and creativity in schools and workplaces could empower the next generation of African energy leaders more effectively than regulatory reforms. Sorry, this is an error. I think the slide wasn't switched. Sorry. Sorry about this. We're supposed to have Benin versus Nairobi. And the theme, let me just read it here once again to confirm, just as it was at the beginning. Just give me a second, just a second. Okay, yeah, thank you, Olawale. Yes, our debate topic today is decentralizing energy infrastructure creates more opportunities for youth engagement and leadership development than centralized. That is the topic for our debate today. And I'm pretty aware that all the 2 teams were aware of this. So sorry about this oversight, the presentation. So we shall be having team Benin supporting the motion, and we shall be having Team Nairobi going against the motion. So We shall have the Benin team, which is supporting the motion, going first, and then the team going against the motion coming second. So let me just start my timer here. We commence on our debate.
Awesome, Andrew. Just let me know when I can start. So Elizabeth Obode for the SPE Benin team.
Okay, yes, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, can you see my screen showing the timer?
Yes, I can. 5 minutes.
Perfect. So whenever you're ready, please, you turn on your camera and then I'll start your timer.
My camera is currently on and I am ready.
Okay, here we go.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Elizabeth Obode, representing the SPE Benin section. I am here to support the motion that decentralizing energy infrastructure creates more opportunities for youth engagement and leadership development than centralized national energy systems in present-day Africa. Now, to understand the power of centralization, permit me to take you back to Greek mythology and to a story that may or may not have happened. In ancient Olympus, Zeus insisted that fire, the symbol of power, should remain centralized and under the god's control. People could only access it when permitted. But Hephaestus, the god of the forge, believed otherwise. He taught villagers how to build their own forges and light their own fires. The village flames began small but soon spread. Innovation grew, leadership emerged from within. When a storm struck Olympus and extinguished the flame, it was not the gods who restored the light, but the youth from below, carried torches kindled from their own forges. Now, in the next few minutes and 3 points, I would like to show you why decentralization of infrastructure is so much better than centralization. First, with decentralized energy system, youth engagement is increased, as can be seen by the employment rate. According to an ESI Africa report in Kenya, renewable energy systems have created 50,000 jobs as of 2022, while the centralized producer Kenya Power PLC has only about 7,000 workers. Similarly, in Nigeria, the centralized renewable energy industry has created about 76,000 jobs as of 2023, as opposed to 65,000 jobs that are only present in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. Now, just for more context, the Nigerian oil and gas industry has existed for more than 5 decades, and the decentralized renewable energy system is just about 2 decades old, but yet it has created more jobs. Secondly, centralized energy infrastructure, such as large-scale oil and gas projects, demand substantial capital investment, advanced technical skills, and access to urban centers. These prerequisites are inherently exclusive for a significant portion of population. For example, 40% of Nigerians live below the poverty line. Now, just to drive home this point, decentralized energy infrastructure systems have less barrier to entry, hence creating more room for youth participation and increasing the potential for leadership development. To understand the systemic barriers into the energy industry, look no further than the participation of young women in centralized versus decentralized energy infrastructure systems. Now, according to the International Center for Investigative Reporting, women make up 18% of the Nigerian oil and gas industry, while this number is 52% for the distributed or decentralized renewable energy infrastructure industry. Now, if half of your population, young women, are excluded from your industry, can there be said to be true engagement or leadership development? Lastly, borrowing from other industries, we can see that decentralization empowers youth engagement and leadership. For example, in commerce, through platforms like WhatsApp, Instagram, Jumia, millions of African youths run their own businesses, managing sales, marketing, and logistics. In fact, over 33 million micro and small enterprises in sub-Saharan Africa are informal. Most of them are youth-led and digitally driven. Meanwhile, centralized retail chains like ShopRite and SPA often offer limited roles, mostly low-wage jobs with no real path to ownership or leadership. In conclusion, Centralized systems are like dams. They are strong, but they are rigid and they are inaccessible. Decentralized systems are like rivers that flow freely, reaching places that dams never could. And in this flow, youth find the opportunity to lead, to grow, and carry their communities forward. With these points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you that decentralized energy systems are so much better than centralized systems. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you very much, Elizabeth, for your submissions. It's now time to have cross-examination from the opponents. We shall use the 45 seconds. Any cross-examination from the opponents?
Hello, I have a question.
Yes.
Based on.
Please go ahead,
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your points. I have a question based on one fact that you stated on Kenya, that 50,000 jobs have been created in the renewable energy sector in Kenya. If you look at Kenya's national grid, the centralized national energy system that supplies Kenya's energy, it is made up of majority renewable energy. So you're citing jobs that have been created through a centralized energy system, not a decentralized system.
Okay, can you have a response?
Thank you so much for this clarification. So yes, I understand that in Kenya, and just because of the landscape and the sort of forward-looking nature of the government, that most of the electricity contribution in Kenya is now from renewable energy systems. So, but I must submit to you that centralized energy systems are not as effective as you would think in most parts of the continent. And the reason I'd say this is just one question. If centralized energy systems are so effective, why are 600 million Africans without electricity and power? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your response. So we shall now move on to the first speaker from the Nairobi team. First speaker from the Nairobi team, when you're ready, please have your camera on and I'll start your timer. There we go.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here representing the Nairobi section, and I would like to start off by posing two questions. First one, why is energy important for youth engagement and leadership development? When we talk about youth, we talk about education, because youth are the future and education is the only thing that allows this. A World Bank study in Ethiopia concluded that connected schools that are connected to the national grid, have 31% higher graduation rate than schools that are not, which shows that energy is very important for education. Second thing, as Elizabeth has mentioned, 3 million youth in Africa have ventures that are digitally led. And Africa has a huge potential for not only innovation in this sector, but also manufacturing. And manufacturing is an energy-intensive project, it's an energy-intensive venture. And 60% of African population is youth, and we expect them to tap into this manufacturing sector. And a UN study in Ghana showed that grid expansion led to 12,000 new youth-led businesses in areas that were not in the national grid. Finally, national resource development in Africa. As Africans, we know that we have been exploited for our national resources, but energy is there to help us to harness the natural resources that we have. And this is only possible if we have the right approach to energy. Second question, why would centralized national energy systems be best placed to foster this? Energy is only as good as its security and reliability. Centralized energy systems provide robust infrastructure and frameworks with diverse energy sources and redundancies, reducing points of failure. For instance, in Malawi, let's have a contrast. Chipopoma and Bondo 1 hydro mini-grid systems failed in the dry season, leading to energy outage in these areas that it was set up, and they had no alternative because they were not connected to a centralized national grid. In contrast, then Katakota, sorry for my pronunciation, solar station in Malawi, pumping 21 megawatts into the national grid, is not isolated. so that even at night, when it is not producing power, those who are connected to the national grid do not have power outages. And after energy is secure and reliable, it needs to be tied to a long-term strategy. In Africa, we have Agenda 2063 and subsequent national visions, which are tied to census data, trade data, and manufacturing strategies. Centralized energy systems are developed in this context, enabling them to be built with longevity in mind. In Kenya, we have the Vision 2030, which Elizabeth has mentioned, which has enabled the development of renewable energy systems, such as the geothermal at Olkaria and the Lake Turkana wind project, which is Africa's largest wind project. These resources are developed in remote regions, though it is only through the national grid that these are able to satisfy the future energy needs. This is an aspect that decentralized energy systems cannot afford. With the growth of Africa in mind, we need energy systems and infrastructure that are scalable. Scalability is only possible within centralized energy systems, as there is muscle to develop, distribute, and use this energy. For example, in Morocco, we have the new solar complex, which is the world's largest solar farm, supplying 510 megawatts to Morocco's national grid, which uses a centralized solar power system, which is an innovation, actually, and it showcases Africa's leadership in renewable energy. To the east, we have the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which has a capacity of 5.15 gigawatts of electricity. And having empowered so many youth through jobs and economic empowerment as infrastructure projects disseminate finances, foster engineering solutions, and leadership development in diplomatic engagements between Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. Therefore, by providing secure, reliable energy with scalable and long-term impact, it is clear that centralized energy systems enable youth engagement and leadership development in education, manufacturing, innovation, and natural resource development. It is very evident that it is only through centralized energy systems that we can move forward as a continent. We have a big gap to fill, and this gap can only be filled if we pull together. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Arthur, for your submissions. Let's now have a cross-examination from the opponents. Time for cross-examining the previous speaker. Please
Andrew,
go ahead.
yes, I have a question. So
Please
thank
go
you so
ahead.
much to the Kenyan team for this great submission. But I have a question about the idea that centralized systems provide redundancy. And the question is that what is the point of redundancy if the grid fails every week, as is seen in most parts of Africa?
That is why we need development in energy systems. Youth engagement is not just about seeing the problems, it's about youth being able to solve the problems. It gives an opportunity for us as youth to create solutions. It is only if not all the grids have this problem. Some grids have solved this solution, and they were able to solve this solution. As SPE, we have solutions, people, and energy. Let us look for solutions, and centralized energy systems provide us with an opportunity to create those solutions and advance our leadership.
Okay, thank you very much, Arthur, for your responses. So we shall now move to the second speakers, and we shall be having the second speaker from Team Benin, supporting the motion. Second speaker from Team Benin, when you're ready, let's have your camera on. Okay, there we go.
Good evening, my panel of judges, my co-debaters, and our ever-listening audience. So my opponent says that centralization creates structure, it creates order, it creates system for building energy system. But I say, what about youth capacity? So let's be honest, structure without inclusion is actually exclusion for the youth, and structure without access is a barrier. So the question now becomes, what's the value of a system if it shuts out youth? even before they have a chance. You're right that centralization has generated a lot of opportunities, but the question remains, how many are accessible to youth in rural areas and in capital cities? Already, for many of these centralized systems, leadership positions are reserved for those with elite education, with connection, or have stayed long in the systems. So let's explore the following. The first is innovation and leadership development. Structure or infrastructure may teach standard procedure, standard way of doing things, but it often stifles creativity. The centralized energy system, on the other hand, demands critical thinking, it demands local solution, and it fosters innovation. Young people running microgrids, maintaining solar units, managing off-grid projects are already leaders in action. A prime example of this is Daystar Power, a startup providing hybrid solar solution in West Africa, which recently had a Series C funding of about $20 million. Secondly, we have electricity access. We've already passed the midpoint between the creation of SDG 7, the Sustainable Development Goal 7 in 2015 and the 2030 objective. Yet the International Energy Agency still estimates about 600 billion people still lack electricity, roughly the same number in 2015. And while mini grid projects and decentralized projects have increased, centralized grid expansion has declined or has remained flat. So the question becomes, how do you benefit from a declining structure? So we have 600 million Africans living without electricity, mostly in rural areas. Centralized grid would not reach them anytime soon. If we wait, we lose years, potential, and leave a generation behind. Finally, there's a matter of ownership. The centralized system puts power in the young people's hands. They don't need to wait. They can build, they can lead, and they can own solutions. There's no superhero coming to save us. We need to learn how to give our youth the power to make meaningful impact. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Henry, for your submissions. It's time to cross-examine the previous speaker from the opponent.
Okay, my name is Chantal Omondi, and I have a question. So,
please,
yes,
please kindly turn on your video whenever you're speaking, such that we can see. Good.
Okay, so my name is Chantal Omondi, and I have a question. So I've had a lot of explanation that's very theoretical, and I'd just like to know if you can provide me with one decentralized project example that has had retention of over 50% within the past 3 years. Thank you so much.
Response?
Okay, thank you for your question. So you were talking about retention rate, right? In Nigeria, the Nigerian Electricity Organization has actually created a lot of mini grid projects, all in rural areas, right? To power their farm instruments, to power all the homes that centralized grid cannot reach. They are still running, they've been running. Solar has a long span, a long duration, with a life expectancy of more than 20 years, right? This actually do not need a lot of maintenance. So when you talk about retention rate, I mean, for a system that doesn't need a lot of maintenance, that has local presence and local capacity, I mean, the retention rate is going to be very, very high. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your responses to the clarities. So we shall now move on to the second speaker from Team Nairobi. Second speaker, Team Nairobi. When you're ready, let's have your camera on. Okay, there we go.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the proponents argue that decentralized energy systems create more opportunities for the youth than centralized energy systems. But the reality is fragmentation and inconsistency make it harder for young people to be able to build their careers or to even lead them. And this is because fragmentation cocoons communities due to the different standards and policies, which results in inequalities rather than unity. Because if we take, for example, in Kenya, we have off-grid solar projects that often lack standardization, which leaves communities with incompatible technologies and unreliable power. Of course, this will lead to confusion rather than youth empowerment. Building on this point, centralized energy systems like national grids require massive capital-intensive infrastructure, which creates stable, long-term roles such as engineers, technicians, or even managers who have clear promotion tracks. This means that they provide institutional support for career growth for our youth. An excellent example of this is South Africa's Eskom, which offers the youth with more reliable opportunities because they provide structured career pathways at a huge scale. Eskom's formal apprenticeship program graduates over 1,500 certified technicians annually, while its large power plants are able to create thousands of permanent jobs with union protections. Now, with these benefits, you can rarely say this in decentralized systems. The sheer size of these projects and standardization of centralized utilities creates institutionalized opportunities that, of course, outweigh the theoretical entrepreneurial potential of decentralized energy systems. And now this brings me to my third and final critical point, which is that decentralized energy systems lead to duplication of efforts. And this duplication of efforts actively sabotages youth potential. Duplication occurs when multiple organizations develop parallel solutions to the same problem, which waste resources that could have been used if they combined it to create greater impact, right? In decentralized energy systems, this can look like repeated efforts where we have like NGOs or companies which are launching similar mini-grid projects in one area, each on their own, not combined, which leads to wastage of resources, where money and time are spent rebuilding systems that already exist instead of improving the ones that are already there. So if we take, for example, Nasarawa State in Nigeria, we have 4 competing solar projects funded by the World Bank, EU, private companies, and the state government, where there was a wasted $5.8 million due to building overlapping mini-grids and training over 200 youth with incompatible certifications. What was the result of this is that trainees were not able to work across projects, and according to UNDP, this led to 68% of them quitting within a year. When we duplicate efforts, we don't empower the youth. Instead, we trap them in these dead-end gigs, which would have never been the case in centralized energy systems, which actually builds real careers. So in summary, we firmly state that decentralized energy systems do not provide the youth with opportunities for leadership development that can even come close to comparing to centralized energy systems. That's our motion stands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chantal, for your submissions. So let's have a cross-examination from the opponent. Yes, Elizabeth,
Yeah.
you want to come? Please go ahead.
Thank you very much to the SP Kenya section for this very passionate submission. But you used the Eskom, that's the South Africa Centralized Power Generation Unit, as a key anchor for your argument. But we do know in recent times that the Eskom grid has been failing. So in South Africa, where you had constant electricity supply, this capacity has reduced by over 20%. In fact, there's been news recently that Eskom is retrenching workers just because there's no more generation. And then factories are moving offshore just because there's no constant supply. How then can this be an example for centralization? Thank you.
Okay, response?
Thank you for your great question. But to say that just because it's facing some problems right now, it means that we should completely forget the thousands of years or like hundreds of years that this has happened. Like, because for example, if I tell you right now that 5,000 youth are trained in renewables every single year by Eskom, will you tell me because it's failing right now that I should just say, forget all the data we have on that? Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your response, Chantal. So we shall now move to the very to the very last speaker from Team Benin-City. Team Benin-City, the last speaker. When you're ready, okay, your timer starts now.
Okay. Good day, esteemed judges, fellow debaters, and distinguished audience. My name is SM Adabchi, and I'm here to re-emphasize my team-based points. Decentralized energy empowers youths, creating jobs, lowering entry barriers. I heard my opponents talking about so many opportunities from the decentralized system, but the point, they're missing the point. The central point here is youth empowerment. How does it address youth empowerment? They have been missing that point. So the centralized systems also enables entrepreneurship. among youth, just like e-commerce and fintech. Centralized systems exclude youth and concentrate power among elites. The youth don't need permission, they need ownership. Decentralized energy gives them that. My opponents may claim that central system supports long-term national planning, but as Keynes would say, in the long run, we all are dead. By then, today's youth would have missed their chance to lead, and that's the fallacy of leaders of tomorrow, as my opponents pointed out. Treating Africa as one economy, let's begin with a foundational truth. In his inquiry into the cause of wealth of nations, Adam Smith argued that free markets guided by self-interest and competition lead to prosperity. When systems reduce gatekeeping and reward effort and innovation, societies thrive. That's exactly what decentralized energy offers African youth today, and we can see that through different benefits. For instance, decentralization promotes social inclusion and equity. Decentralized systems like solar mini grids and home kits light up places the national grid has abandoned. Rural youth now has access to electricity, digital tools, and online education. This boosts awareness, income, welfare, quality of life, and overall happiness. It also reduces unnecessary rural to urban migration. That is true inclusion, which is in alignment with Sustainable Development Goal 7, affordable and clean energy. It also reduces inequality and increases sustainable cities and communities, which is Goals 11. Again, decentralized energy increases remote international job access. Reliable power enables remote work. A youth in Lagos can now design for a firm in Canada, and another youth in Nairobi can code for a startup in London. Why? Because they finally have reliable electricity thanks to the off-grid energy. Decentralized energy also promotes youth leadership and skills. In centralized oil and gas, for instance, they already have a high barrier for business entry, but decentralized energy is open ground. Startups like Energy and Heaven Hill prove that youth can lead if they are given the chance to. Young Africans now work as engineers, vendors, installers, and innovators in this field. In conclusion, according to the Nobel-winning economists Asimilog and Robinson, in their book Why Nations Fail, they argue that nations fail because of extractive institutions, a system where a few control and suppress innovation. On the contrary, nations succeed when institutions are inclusive, distributing power, protecting property rights, and enabling participation. Decentralized energy is inclusive. Decentralized energy lifts up our use. It gives voice and ownership. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your submissions. So let's have a cross-examination from Team Nairobi. Team Nairobi.
Well, my fellow opponent has argued that decentralized energy system create leadership roles. But I tend to ask, how can decentralized system sustain long-term youth leadership roles when their small scale often limit job growth? Thank you.
Response?
Okay, so if I got my opponent right, he's asking how decentralized system can sustain job security.
Please kindly clarify for him.
Yes, kindly continue.
Okay, so the decentralized system is actually a very innovative one. So with just using solar as an example, with solar energy in rural areas, for instance, the rural areas now install solars to power their systems, which for years historically have never had electricity from the national grid. What does that bring? That brings entrepreneurship. It's mostly led by youths creating business. It increases skill acquisition among the youth who wants to become installers, become engineers, do this and that through that system. It also gives them the room to lead. It's mostly youth that do that community service, organizing solar installation among communities. I am one. I did that in my community and so many other communities that are not mine. So it creates jobs and is very, very sustainable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your response to those clarifications which were needed. So let's now move to the very last speaker from Team Nairobi. The very last speaker from Team Nairobi, when you're ready, timer starts now.
Well, good evening, judges, young professions in the house, and my worthy opponents. My team has shown how decentralized energy system affects and affected African youth, and attempt to further explain how, with a clear view of its harsh reality in present-day Africa. First, decentralized system can't deliver for you. They face limited fundings in the execution. Decentralized systems often rely on short-term dollar grants or community contribution, which are insufficient for sustainable operation. Let's take an example of Kenya. In Kenya, the project was the rural microgrid system project was affected by the funding gaps. It collapsed, as stated by the African Development Bank. Centralized systems often rely on leverage on government's budget and direct international investment to fund a large-scale youth program, hence employing thousands and impacting more youth for more youths in terms of skill development. Secondly, many decentralized systems are at risk of abandonment, threatening youth opportunity. Let's take an example of Kavuzi in Malawi, a 50 kilowatts hydro project in Malawi under construction with UNDP and GEF support. It aims to recruit youth in Mzuzu for technical roles, but it's already flattering. No financial support to secure buyers, just like the Usingini one, the same, facing the same problem without buyers also and investors. It risks abandonment, leaving youth trainee jobless and without skills. Contrast this with Morocco, a centralized solar project that is backed by the ON. It's fully operational, training youth as renewable energy engineers as by 2020 AFDP report, creating real leaders. A decentralized system, teacher on collapse and collapse. The decentralized one, they have and will continue to build our future. So, ladies and gentlemen, decentralized systems have delivered beyond expectation and has depicted a national impact. As once the great Chinua Achebe once said, that a man who brings home ant-infected firewood should not complain when the ants come to visit. Let us hold the bull by its horn and admit it that decentralized system brings the ant, which are the failures, the inclusion, their abandonment, lack of skin and frustration of youths. Decentralized system, they have proved to offer solid firewood that Africa needs to ignite real youth power. So I end by saying, all that glitter is not gold. Search through the surface and you'll find decentralized energy system left to rot in the dark. I rest my case. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve, for your submissions. So let's have a cross-examination from Benin-City. Time for cross-examining our previous speaker.
Yes, thank you so much to the SP Kenya section for this great submission. But I still ask the question that if centralized energy systems are so great, why are 600 million Africans without access to power? Thank you.
Response from Team Nairobi.
Thank you for your question. But let's an example of a centralized system, like the one for Morocco solar project, or even Egypt centralized grid and the Kenyan's grid. This proves that centralized system are our brighter future. They have employed and have continued to employ youth. Even here in Kenya, we have experienced and we have witnessed Kenya Power and Lighting Company, which is a centralized energy system backed by the government fundings and led by the government and has frameworks that are set following the framework set by the government to lead and to lead a large-scale youth program, and has employed and will continue to employ thousands. So I tend to disagree with your question and also stress that centralized energy systems are our future and are our hope. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Steve, for your response into those clarifications which were needed. So we have come to the end of our debate rounds. It's now time to move to the questions from the judges. We shall be having a maximum of 3 questions, 1 question from each judge to both of the teams. So a question to Team Benin and a question to Team Nairobi. So we shall have a brief snapshot of maybe 45 seconds as we wait for the judges to prepare. We shall begin with our very first judge. That's Judge Grubak. Judge Grubak, in the next 45 seconds, please feel free to ask your questions to Team Benin and to Team Nairobi when you're ready.
Yep. Thank you very much. I think I'll need 45 minutes, not 45 seconds, but great
Yeah,
work.
45 seconds.
Very interesting arguments from both sides. I had a question for Eze. I think there was discussion of using solar as an example of decentralized energy. It seems to be one of the main examples of it. Are there any other solid examples in terms of energy where you see decentralized structures working and youth empowerment working other than the solar fields?
Yes, thank you so much. So this is Elizabeth from the SPE Benin section. So the truth is that in Africa, when the grid fails, people decentralize by default. So decentralization is not just solar or renewable energy. It's also diesel generators, petrol generators that businesses use to run their factories and infrastructure. So decentralization by default is actually the main case in Africa today. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your response, Elizabeth. Judge, you can have the question to Team Nairobi.
Give me just a moment here. I'm just finding my note. One second.
Okay. Okay.
I think the question was for Chantal. You talked about different standards, incompatible technologies, unreliable power, and repeated efforts. Could you give some examples? So what kind of efforts are you saying when you mean that there is repeated effort from the youth in this kind of project?
Thank you for your question. So when I was talking about duplication, first, let me begin by saying that 37% of losses within the energy industry are actually caused by duplication. So when I was talking about duplication, the example I gave was when in Nigeria, the Nasarawa state, sorry, give me 1 second. The Nasarawa state, there were 4 grid projects that were produced by 4 different organizations on the same thing, which led to training of 200 people, 200 youth, and led to losses because 68% of these people didn't manage to be integrated into the system because there was no combination, there was no unity when they were carrying out these systems. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Chantal, for the response. Judge Grubert, you have any rejoiners in the responses?
No, thank you very much. That answers both of my questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Judge Grubert, for your questions. So let's now move to our second judge, Judge Maisa. Judge Maisa, the 2 teams are all yours for questioning. A question to each.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Great debate. Okay, so I have the first question for the team supporting decentralization. So how would decentralization function and continue to support youth engagement and leadership during political or economic crisis?
Maisa, thank you so much for that question. So during crisis, you actually want decentralization much more than centralization. And this is seen not only in the energy industry, but even in economics. This is the idea of don't put all your eggs in one basket. So during times of economic or political instability, the ability to have decentralized systems that can power communities, and also the ability to have a decentralized system that is not prone to attacks, is so much better for resilience and for recovery of the communities. So especially during times of instability, you do not want to have all your eggs in one basket. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Okay, so my question for the team supporting centralization. Centralization usually is associated with delays due to the large scale of these systems. So how could centralization overcome these delays and stay on track? Because now we have a very fast changing technology and youth-driven innovation. So how centralization would stay in track with these changes, all for youth leadership and engagement?
Response from Team Nairobi.
Thank you so much for your question. So I think what I've gotten is that you're talking about a delay in adoption of new energies. And I would cite the Morocco Noor solar project, which is a centralized solar system. It's quite unique and a very unique way to harness solar energy. And centralized systems give you an opportunity to scale the solutions that are there in research. So when something moves to research, for you to scale it up to a scale that you can actually harness the energy and get out the full economic potential of that particular innovation, you would move towards a centralized and a scalable system so that you can get all the benefits. So in terms of delays, I would not attribute it to a delay, but I would attribute it to, it helps us to further develop that innovation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your response, Arthur. I just want to remind all the debaters, please, whenever you're speaking or you're responding to other questions, ensure that your video is on all the time, because we need to see you when you're speaking. Thank you. Judge Maisa, please, you may continue for your feedback.
Thank you very much for addressing the questions, both teams. Well done, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Judge Maisa, for your questions. So let's now move to our third judge. That is Engineer James Alote Okai.
Right.
Judge James.
My question to Benin-City. During the argument, you made mention of social media being one of the tools we can use for centralizing energy infrastructure, right? I want to ask, social media in Africa, right? We know of its negative impact it's having on the youth, right? So how can it be an effective tool centralization to enhance our decentralization efforts, energy infrastructure? That's number one. And then the second question I'll ask is energy access affordability is a challenge in Africa. All right. Eze made mention of using energy decentralization as a tool for the youth harnessing global opportunities. Let's say you've gotten an opportunity in in America, right? You are working remotely and then you are based in a village in Accra, Ghana, or a village in the upper part of Ghana, and you don't have access to energy, right? How can you then be able to effectively access that global opportunity, be able to enhance your capacity and then your life? Thank you.
So thank you so much, James. The point on social media was to borrow decentralization examples from other industries. The idea is that with platforms like WhatsApp, Instagram, Jumia, for example, youths in Africa can run their own businesses, e-commerce businesses, unlike working in SPA or ShopRite, where you are limited only to a cashier, low-wage jobs. So we're seeing that even in other industries, not just in the energy industry, decentralization helps you to basically take your economic destiny in your own hands. Now, you also talked about the access and affordability challenge of energy in Africa. So this is not just limited to decentralized energy systems alone, but the idea is that with decentralized energy or the ability to power yourself, you have more opportunities or you have more chances of accessing opportunities when they arise. Thank you.
And in addition, if you don't mind, can I take that of decentralized energy helping across? Sure.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, what happens with decentralized? What happens with decentralized energy is that you can schedule your work time. For instance, you mentioned America, which obviously has different time zone as most of Africa, at least West Africa. So if you have decentralized energy, if you're working 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you have a source of electricity for you to be able to work. A mentee in this meeting actually had to connect to decentralized energy to take a job in Canada, without which planning that job would be difficult because she can't trust this central grid. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your responses.
All right, my next question to Nairobi section is, instead of pushing for fragmentation, right, how can Africa strengthen centralized grids while we are integrating the youth into large-scale energy planning, education, and leadership programs? Thank you.
Team Nairobi.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat your question?
Okay, the question is, you are against the motion that decentralizing Africa infrastructure, meaning you are fighting for centralization, right? And I'm saying that instead of fighting for centralization, right, how can Africa strengthen decentralized grids while integrating the youth into the large-scale energy planning, education, and leadership program?
I'll assist with answering that question. That Africa can centralize grid by investing in large-scale infrastructure, like the national transmission network, and also by securing funding from government and donors, and using technology for efficient management. Let's take an example of Kenyan's pipeline, Kenyan's power grid system. It's powering 70% of the country. This shows work that government must streamline approvals and ensure policies consistently and engage youth in planning to speed up rollout and create jobs, as also seen by the Morocco Noor Solar Project, which demonstrates this with university partnership for training. Thank you.
Okay, Arthur, you want something?
Yes, so I would say Africa can strengthen the youth through legislation. I think one of the advantages of, even as the topic is centralized national energy systems, systems are not just infrastructure, it goes all the way to legislation and policies. If we look, for example, at Uganda, when they're developing their Tilenga project, they put in place legislation for national youth content, which enabled a lot of youth to be absorbed into this project by CNOC and Total and other companies that were affiliated, and ensured that the youth were participating in the youth, and there was a skill transfer for the youth. So this is one of the ways and a good example of how we can integrate youth into African energy projects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. Response from judges, feedback.
All right, let me go first. My general feedback is that there was good sportsmanship from both teams, right? I like the way Benin-City was according enough respect to Nairobi, and Nairobi also doing the same for Benin-City. That's a very good one. You can keep it up. I also like the way you guys were giving examples from each other's backyard. So Benin-City was giving examples from Nairobi and the eastern part of Africa. And Nairobi was also giving examples from Benin-City and then other parts of Nigeria, right? I think it's also a good trait we can actually keep it up, right? Elizabeth also made good arguments on the
James?
topic. Yeah, hello.
So sorry to cut you short. The feedback was on the responses on the questions.
Okay,
We shall be
that's
having
fine.
a session. Yes, we shall be having another session where we shall be sharing the general feedback from the entire debate. So
Right, that's fine.
thank you very once again for the questions from our three judges. So at this point in time, we shall go into a quick short break where we shall have our judges joining breakout rooms to score the two teams. And then they'll be coming back to us very shortly with the results. So at this point in time, I'll end our timer. And so the judges, please kindly join the breakout rooms which have been created. Score the teams. Hey, okay, we'll be back from that short commercial break. So before we have the announcement of the results, we shall be having the remarks from our judges. Let's have quick remarks from each of the judges to the two teams, then we shall go to the announcement, the results. Are our judges back in the main room?
Right here.
Yes, we can have some few quick remarks or comments.
Yeah, I can give you a couple of comments from my end. Very nice work. Like I saw in the chat box, good teamwork. It seemed like everyone was helping each other when needed and where needed. Good preparation. I think the topic is extremely important. It's important to see all different angles and perspectives of it. And the last comment to it is it wasn't easy to to decide on, the best delivery here because both teams were really, really good at defending their points. So really great work and continue with this kind of great events.
Thank you, Judge Robert. Comments from Judge Mace or Judge James?
I would like to thank both teams for the great debate they delivered. Both teams were very persuasive. I'm impressed by the speaking style, how organized, how structured it was. And as Gabriel said, it was a very tough decision. Well done, and I wish you best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Maisa. Judge James?
All right, so as I said earlier on, there was good sportsmanship from both teams and good examples from your opponent's backyard. I'll urge the two teams to please keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. On Benin-City, I like the social media example, but I'll urge you to be more persuasive on the negative effects of social media on the African youth, right? Again, I also like the use of the UN development goals from Benin-City as well, right? You can also look at more on tackling the access and then the affordability of the African youth for the energy, right? On Nairobi section, I like the good statistics on energy infrastructure from across the continent. I like it. Please keep it up. I also like the order and then the systems creation you made mention that centralized systems bring. Well, again, you were also persuasive on the short-term reliability of decentralized systems, and then on community involvement as well. And then you also made mention of the risks and abandonment of small energy infrastructure. I also like that point as well. And then also the use of the great Chinua Achebe in your argument, as I said, from your opponent backyard. I also like that. Please keep it up. Finally, it wasn't very easy to judge or to declare the winner for this debate. I would like to entreat both the winning and then the losing team to keep the camaraderie going. You guys did excellently. Well done to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Judge James, Mesa, and Jet Gruber. Many, many thanks for your feedback and for your comments on both the teams. So next, are we all ready for the scores? Okay. So as you can see on my screen, the scores are as projected. We had Benin-City scoring 85.0% and SPE Nairobi scoring 83.5%. So at this point in time, as we can all see, SPE Benin-City has taken the victory in this second knockout stage. So congratulations to SPE Benin-City and many congrats to SPE Nairobi City as well. It has been a very tight one, just as we listened in from the judges. I believe both the teams have really, really, really given a very good debate and we've enjoyed it. So many, many thanks to all the teams.
Bizarrement.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. We can no longer hear you. I don't know if it's just from my end. You're speaking, but we can't hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. So to guide us if we are using the same platform for the next debate. Many thanks to all the judges and to all the debaters and all the participants.